Hi, mining community. Welcome back to another episode of the Dig Deep, the Mining Podcast. And today's guest is Naheed Memon, who's the CEO of Oracle Power, an international natural resources project developer listed on London's AIM market. The company's focused on delivering reliable and affordable power in emerging developing markets with projects in Pakistan and Australia. Naheed has worked in the public and private sectors, working in consulting and banking, and has sat on and is sitting currently on a few boards of a few companies. So she's here to tell us more about Oracle Power and the projects that they're involved in. So I want to welcome Naheed to the podcast. How you doing, Naheed?
Thank you very much, and I'm very well, thank you.
That's good to hear. Appreciate your time in taking the time to do this podcast. So wondering if you can give our audience a little bit a background about yourself, about your journey, and before I go into obviously asking some questions around Oracle Power.
Sure. So as you said, I have a sort of a diverse career. I have been involved in the private sector extensively and also worked in the public sector in Pakistan. I currently live between Pakistan and the UK. I can't get to the UK as often as I would like to, obviously now on account of COVID, but also because our primary principal project is based in Pakistan, so which requires me to spend as much time as possible here on ground, given the complexity and the sheer scale of the project that we are currently developing. Prior to becoming involved in Oracle and taking on a position as its CEO, I was a minister, like a chairman of the board of investment in the government here, so which sort of gave me exposure to an immensely like a large landscape whereby I dealt a lot with Chinese companies, countless billion-dollar projects coming into Pakistan and their facilitation and execution and so on. So that was, and I did that for 3 years. And prior to that, I have, I come from sort of a family business background, so I'm involved in some parts of my family businesses strategically as well. So that was something that was much more relevant to me before I took on the government position. But I've also done interesting things. I set up my own public policy think tank, worked extensively in governance and education, etc. That I did for a few years. I'm trained as an economist, and then later on I did my MBA, both from London. And I worked in the city for a while. My last sort of city job was with Merrill Lynch, Bank of America now. And then I did some consulting work in London as well. That was during my university and then post-university days. So London's home, Pakistan's home as well. And I also end up spending time in Dubai. So it's truly incredible in terms of the experiences that I have now. I can't get to Australia, which is difficult given that we have a huge, interesting prospective interest there now. So I'm waiting for that to happen. But other than that, Pakistan is currently where I am sort of physically diverting my energies, but then working in so many different time zones. So it's all really good, and we've also held out during a horrible year and have a lot to thank God for that. Still here, still surviving, and still now hoping that incredible things are going to happen, and it looks like that now.
Yeah, it seems obviously you've got quite a varied background, obviously during your whole career. How have you found coming into the mining industry, sort of more recent years, compared to working private, public sectors, governments, etc.? How have you found the mining industry?
So when I first came on to the board and then took on this position, I was not familiar with mining per se, and so for me that's been a learning curve, and I have tried, and now I can't say I've become a geologist or a geophysicist or anything like that, but now I can look at news I can look at progress reports, and now I understand that much better. But when I first came in, it was more for the purpose of developing a project, so which involved the whole corporate structure. It involved bringing the financing together. It involved the administrative part of it, of actually getting it going and moving forward, and ensuring that the milestones were achieved in the whole process, which is hugely complex, because it requires so many different things to come together at the same time. I haven't found it difficult. I have found it terribly interesting. I understand the risk involved, but then the upside is so exciting and it's so huge that it just keeps you on it. And it's like you waiting for something incredible and great to happen, and which I don't think is the case for other sort of areas as much, because here you are putting yourself into something which can deliver an upside which is unimaginable. So yes, I mean, I found it incredibly interesting. I have found it challenging, but addictive, right? You don't want to give up. You want to keep going. You want to make sure that you get the drill hole right, and you want to make sure that yes, you get to what there is, or you manage to succeed to produce what you're at, after.
Yeah. Why don't you give the audience an overview of Oracle Power and just a brief overview of the company and the projects you're involved in?
Right. So our board, we have incredibly talented, dedicated board members who are, who bring a lot to the table in terms of their varied experiences and their sort of interest, and then their guidance, which really helps and makes the whole the flavor of the company that much more real, and we feel the pulse around us through our members. I have an absolutely incredible support system in the UK through our people who advise us, the PR people, the sort of the regulators, the market people, the brokers, etc. So it's a fantastic team which really comes together, and I think that hopefully I can say this, been able to get everyone to really work together towards a goal. So that's the first thing I'd like to say about Oracle, that there are no sort of no lines, no issues, no nothing. It's all like coming together, and we work very well. The synergy is fantastic. The company was listed and admitted to the AIM market on the basis of our big project in Pakistan, which is a coal mining, power, and now additionally coal to liquid and coal to gas facilities. So like a coal mining and then plus project. So that is how the company was listed onto the market, and we remained primarily a coal developer for power, and now we've enhanced that to other purposes as well. So that was our main principal project up until last year, and I would say it's been now 1.5 years since we had actually started this journey of potentially diversifying our portfolio. And last year, we then diversified the jurisdiction and as well as our commodity platform. So now we have gold as well as coal, and that just happened last year. But up until last year, we were just primarily based on this one big project in Pakistan, which started off as a $3+ billion project. But if we now can include all the other parts that we plan to, then this project would be in excess of $6 billion. So it's huge, and therefore, it tests the patience of everyone involved. But the upside can potentially be so big that the journey might just be worth, staying on for slightly longer. So that's where we're at. And now Oracle moved into Western Australia, and acquired 2 gold projects. So we're developing that in parallel as well. And so it's now literally taken on the shape of a robust project development platform. And there's no looking back. I do not plan, and I hope that I have the support of everybody around me not to stop here. As soon as we check some success for both or either, hopefully both of these projects on ground, we will continue to grow as a company and look at other interesting and potentially lucrative opportunities as well.
Okay. So what prompted you, your decision to move into the mining industry in Western Australia, of obviously after working in Pakistan for so long, obviously with the coal operation?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm asked this question very often, and then I'm also asked that is it because you just wanted distraction or something? Well, you don't invest a lot of, whatever, potentially millions is what we'll probably invest now because when our exploration program starts. So that's not really a distraction, but we wanted diversification, we wanted to mitigate risk, and we wanted growth primarily. And Western Australia is a safe, efficient, and developed jurisdiction for mining. We've been in the process of the development on ground in Pakistan for a good number of years. Oracle started its journey here. The genesis of this whole company is based in Thar, in Sindh, in Pakistan. So we understand what a difficult jurisdiction means and what complexities, are involved. So Western Australia presented a jurisdiction which was relatively, nothing is simple, but relatively more organized and relatively more efficient and developed. So that was very important for us. And then, of course, gold. I mean, today it's above 1900, I think. So gold is a commodity that is a no-brainer given the economic conditions globally. The sort of the effect of the COVID scenario, what the world is going to look like going forward, and how the sentiments towards savings, assets, etc., will actually remain and become. So keeping all that in mind, investing in gold was a sure shot sort of upside, and it wasn't going to give us any controversial, difficult situation to deal with, which coal sometimes brings forward, because we really have to ensure then we are on the right path. We do not want to be on the wrong side of history and so on. So going into gold projects at this point in time, I'm sure we are on the right side, and we are looking at the right commodity, and we are developing it in the right place.
Yeah. Obviously, continuing on gold, the gold exploration industry in WA, obviously where your project is, has seen sort of unprecedented levels of activity over the last 12 to 18 months. What do you think this rate of interest, do you think this rate of interest is sustainable, or do you see it sort of reducing slightly or even increasing over the short period of time?
So I'm sure there are other people like us who have taken an interest and who've acquired early stage exploration projects. So one of our projects is just 9 kilometers from Australia's third largest gold mine, which has developed 7 million ounces. So if we are anything close to that, we will automatically then invoke tremendous interest, and there'll be probably more undeveloped, unexplored, early stage activity going on. Now, this sort of activity progresses, the interest is only bound to grow, and the industry is also bound to grow. And also interest in the commodity itself, that's also growing in the world. So I don't see that this activity would in any in the short term subside, or the interest would subside. However, having said that, we have actually suffered on account of how busy WA is, because our lab results sit there for weeks at end. Everyone's so caught up. It's very hard to get hold of consultants to actually, come on board, because everyone is so stretched. People don't have the bandwidth. So that's the downside of it. But obviously the upside is that they have experience, they have the system, they are organized, the government is on the ball, and everything moves in a systematic fashion. So the interest actually helps to ensure that that organized activity maintains, and carries on in the right way. So I don't think it's subsiding at all in the near future at all.
Yeah, obviously with all this interest and obviously busyness, especially within the particular area where your projects are. How were you actually able to secure those two projects last November at such a modest price?
So the price was, I think we were, well, it was good luck. I think we had good intentions, of course, but that's not scientific, right? So one of our tenements that we acquired was under application at that time for an exploration license, and we've just been given that. So that was the announcement we just made. So obviously it was an under application tenement. So clearly the price was slightly lower than it would have been, or much lower than it would have been if it had been a tenement on which exploration license had already been granted and work had already begun. So we got in at the right time. We got in on the right part of the curve of development, so to speak. So that's really been useful. Obviously, we had great, we were the sort of the project was introduced in a way, and by people who understood the landscape and were able, and the people who did our due diligence, etc., were able to identify that the prospect is good and it's worth taking a chance to get it under application so that you pay less for it. But once you're awarded the exploration license, then there's nothing looking back. So there was one about at what stage did we acquire it? We acquired it at a sort of stage at which it wasn't at the top. The northern zone, which is a smaller tenement, has already been explored. There's historical drilling there, which has shown significant intercepts, etc. So because there hasn't been a discovery there as yet, so it meant that if we would go in there, we could actually reconfirm these intercepts and prove how a new drilling program could actually confirm the size of a resource there. Also the vicinity, we have very big developers, especially near Jandi, who are potentially who have an eye on what's going on in the area. So we were aware of all of that. And so we really moved fast very quickly. So it was timing as well. We didn't waste time. As soon as this was brought up, we said, let's take it.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Northern Zone project? What's happening there at the moment? If you can give us a current update.
Sure. So, we've got geochemical results awaited for Northern Zone. And we are currently in the process of planning a drilling program, which would confirm some of the old drill holes as well as some new drill holes, primarily for gold, but there's also some nickel intercepts that we might look at, and our geologists are currently working. We've just got a new consultant who is very hands-on and has tremendous experience. So he is, as we speak, working on with a geophysicist, and they're sort of working on the data, and they're trying to put the right drilling program together. So that's what we're doing currently. It's happening. We've got a good team there now. As I said, it's hard. COVID has delayed things and one can't travel. But despite all of that, we've got dedicated people on ground. So Northern Zone should have some activity on ground fairly shortly.
Okay. And the Jandi East project, what are your plans there?
So Jandi, again, now that we've got an exploration license, we are, I would say weeks, months, literally. I don't know, but a very, very short term away from work on ground. And that would be, again, drilling, because we've done our gravity survey, which showed up the greenstone belt, but we're waiting for our geochems, and putting all of that together, we'll be able to come up with a more accurate drilling program. And it's has not been explored before. The intrusions are very similar to the mine just 9 kilometers away, and the mineralization pattern sort of looks the same, similar. So the prospect is very good. It's very exciting. If it works, you may not find me. I might become so busy. You might just say, oh, where is she? I need to interview her. So let's see.
You're obviously bullish, obviously, about the gold price, like obviously most of us are. And especially obviously in the WA market. Do you think some of the major mining companies in the area will look at your projects as a potential acquisition target for in the future?
Yeah, so I can say that there has been interest. I can say that because we're there in the market, we have conversations, and we've had a few very positive conversations along the lines that you mentioned. And as I said earlier, that of course is a strategy which is not that we are unaware of, and a direction that we would not look into. But as I said, it's still early days. But to directly answer your question, yes, it's those sort of conversations, that kind of discussion. We keep our eyes open, as do other people as well, because at the end of the day, we are part of the same sort of community, and we know what is really happening. And it's all about the right opportunity at the right price.
Yeah, understand. And what's the sort of short to medium term outlook for Oracle Power, if you're looking, I suppose, over the next 5 years or so?
At least 100 million market cap.
Okay, and do you feel that you're going to take the project to a particular stage? Is there guarantees that you're going to take it to a particular stage before you may look at other companies coming in?
So in Pakistan, we are in a consortium agreement with the Private Office of His Highness and China's really big coal development company, and we are project developers here on ground already. So all the concessions and permissions will be awarded to the consortium, and we are a part of that. Now, the agreements which are underlying expect the consortium partners to remain a part of that development up to a point, right? We can't exit till that point. Obviously, I mean, all of this is complex, but just to kind of make it simple, up to a point, we can't exit because we have already signed on the performance guarantees. There are a lot of different things which will be then attached to us, and then lenders will be attached to us, and so on and so forth. So the whole structure will make us a sort of a part of that arrangement, and we won't exit till a certain point. But at that certain point, exit would obviously be an option. Maintaining an equity and removing ourselves from active development will be another option. And of course, the third option will be to sell our share, be after a certain point. So all of those three options would be available to us, but only after reaching that certain point, which the government of Pakistan would ensure that, you know, it's like a startup. People who the founders just don't go away, right? So you've got to stay in it up to a certain point. So till that point, we're all in it together. And then after that, hopefully, if we reach that point, then really we can sit here and earn money for 30 years off this project quietly, or even sell our stake at a premium and get out of it if we want the 30-year sum to come to us sooner. So it depends. All those options will be available. As far as Australia is concerned, again, depends upon our discovery, depends upon what we manage to establish in terms of our resource estimate and size, what we are really looking at. And then if we are made an offer, how good is that offer? Does it make sense then to sell out, or does it make sense to continue a bit longer? It's all about money. I mean, if it makes sense, and if I can, if we can get the shareholders a higher value sooner, why not? We're not married to anything.
Yeah. And as a conclusion, why would someone want to invest in Oracle Power?
Because we're going to do big things.
Okay. And I suppose a concluding statement, and obviously our listeners are a lot of mining professionals, services to the industry. What would you say is unique about the project?
So I think unique about the project development platform is that we sit in a developed tier 1 mining district, Western Australia, and we also sit in a developing regime with potential returns of like 30% and plus, which you can only get in a jurisdiction like Pakistan, for example, because the whole project, the size and the scale allows that. So we sit in like a very diverse, it's a mixed bag. And so the risk is really mitigated. and we have the right team, and we can potentially move into other jurisdictions as well and make this platform into a sort of a respected and large project development platform, which is able then to take on other challenges and other opportunities as well. So I would say the biggest thing is growth. That there is a growth potential here, which probably is what people are after, right? They want their returns to grow. They also want the size of the company to grow. They want to be a part of a bigger story, as we all do. So I just see the story becoming bigger and bigger.
Yeah. Naheed, appreciate your time in giving us an overview of obviously the coal project, but also more importantly, the gold projects in WA. So if our audience wants to reach out to you, if they've got any questions, how can they go about doing that? And are you on any social media?
So we're on Twitter, and then we have a PR company which takes care of all our communication. We can, there is an info@oraclepower.co.uk address, and we pick those emails up all the time, and they are, each and every one is dealt with. So that's one straight way. Sending us a direct message on Twitter is another way. And then there's a LinkedIn profile as well, which our PR company handles. So, we're very certainly very, very accessible. Whatever that we are able to share, which is, compliant and within our regulatory sort of, abiding by all our responsibilities, we always do share, we always do respond. And I'm always very happy to talk to people and share the information which we have already disclosed, or which is already in the public domain, but sometimes people want to understand certain things or understand how we actually approach the business that we're doing right now. So I'm happy, like I'm talking to you. We also do quarterly shareholder updates, and people send us questions, even that happens. So you've got a pretty proactive communication program as well.
Yeah. Well, we'll put all those details in the show notes accompanying this podcast, so people can reach out to you if they have any questions. Like I said, really appreciate your time in giving us an overview of Oracle Power and the projects that you're involved in. Our audience, hope you enjoyed the listen to the podcast, and also if you're watching on the YouTube channel, appreciate if you can like the episode, share it amongst friends, family across the world, people that are involved in, especially the mining industry, especially that people are interested in either coal or gold, which I imagine most of our listeners are. So really appreciate your time for listening. Keep sharing the podcast episodes to everyone that you know out there. Get them educated, get them understanding more about the mining industry, because we're at the start of a super cycle, I believe. So the more people that are informed about the mining industry, the better most will understand the prospects that are going to be happening to not those just in the mining industry, but the people outside as well. So whether that's investing in the industry, or even just understanding that the commodities and minerals that come from mining are used in everyday life. So please keep sharing the podcast and making it reach further afield. We're in 175 countries at the moment, so I want to try and make that more, probably 190 plus. So appreciate your continued support and sharing this episode out to everyone. So until next time, happy mining.